Detroit, get ready to throw down. It's the Brawl on Bagley. International big-time wrestling hits Taqueria El Rey. A live event that's gonna shake the block. NWA superstar and IBW women's champion Big Mama is bringing the gold. Lil Fred's back to defend his title and shut down the bullies once and for all. Dirty TX Tex Monroe, the IBW Street Fight champion, ain't showing no mercy. And the IBW Tag Team Champions, the Monroe Dynasty, are coming for war. Also featuring many more superstars. June 8th, bell time, 4 p.m., $10 at the door, Taqueria El Rey, 3400 Bagley. The champs are ready. The legends rise. Enjoy the body slams and best chicken in town. Last show sold out before the bell, so get there early. All attendees will receive a collector's commemorative wrestling trading card, courtesy of Throwdown Theater. This ain't just a fight, it's the Brawl on Bagley. The legends were real. The stories were wilder. And now it's time to talk about it. This is Wrestling Real Talk. And now your hosts, A.T. Huck and Rude Boy.
Hey, Wrestling Real Talk fans. Thank you for joining us on this very special episode of Wrestling Real Talk. This is an episode that neither one of us, myself or A.T. Huck, wanted to ever visit. But unfortunately, in the world we live in, we all have to see this fate. And unfortunately, one of our dear friends, someone that we've known forever, and someone who is more than a friend, is a brother to us. You guys know him as ECW legend, the great Sabu, passed away on Mother's Day, Sunday. And, it took us a couple days to come and gather our thoughts and how we wanted to pay tribute to our brother. And one of the things that I asked Huck is that we don't make this a sad, somber show, because Sabu was not that guy. Sabu was he was one of the funniest guys I ever met in my life. He was a caring guy. He was a guy who would give you the shirt literally off his back, and that's real talk. And with that being said, tonight's episode is being dedicated in loving memory to our friend Terrence Terry Brunk, better known as Sabu. And tonight's episode, of course, is being brought to you by Taqueria El Rey over there on Bagley in Southwest Detroit. We'll tell you more about that a little bit later. But now it's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate our brother. And of course, it's a shock and it hurts. And my brother to the left of me, my partner in crime, the one and only A.T. Huck, another ECW legend, A.T. Huck. Sunday, I was the bearer of bad news to this terrible news.
Yes, you were. You were the first person I heard break the news. I'm sitting there on my couch, as I normally do, and of course I get your message, and I was just taken away. Ended up on that couch all day. And like you said, I don't want to make it sad, but this is what happened.
Sure.
After I had plans for the day, to go get some errands run and do a lot of political stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But after I got that news, I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Went to the kitchen a couple times, but right back into that same place all day.
Right.
Just in retrospect, thinking about, like you said, our brother.
Yeah.
For me, he was there from my very beginning.
Yeah.
In the business.
Yeah.
And we both known him a very, very long time. Our history is intertwined.
Absolutely.
All three of us.
Absolutely.
Because we have the same roots.
Absolutely.
And I was talking about that the other day. our roots are from the Sheik,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're branches off of us.
Absolutely.
But we're a direct branch from big time wrestling.
Absolutely.
And Sabu and the Sheik, legendary. They help mold who we are in the business.
They sure did, and not only in the business, but in life. To watch a man like you said, the Sheik, come from nothing. He was one of the most. He was a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a millionaire.
You know what? But Rudy, that being said, when I was growing up watching big time wrestling, that was not even on my mind.
Right.
It was the way he captivated me, his persona.
Right.
The Sheik, not how much money he had.
Right.
But it was the Sheik, just that persona, that wrestler. He was a wrestler. He wasn't a character to me.
Uh-huh.
He was the Sheik.
Uh-huh.
And I was afraid of him, just like everybody else my age,
Right.
younger and a little older.
Right.
We feared this man, even though he was on television and we see him at the arenas, but we thought he was this maniac.
Of course. And for those of you who are listening right now, you can check out Vice TV, Dark Side of the Ring, season 6, episode 8, I believe, of the Sheik. And they're calling it the original Sheik. I hate that.
Yeah, I never say that.
It's the Sheik. And there's some great interviews and great interview with Sabu in it.
Right.
I'm very happy that he was around to do that interview.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is I keep hearing. Well, look, I'm gonna say I'm gonna be jumping around a whole lot tonight. You know that
memories are gonna come out of the blue.
Absolutely, and some of them are going to be hilarious. I mean, I got to tell everybody about Sabu's fashion.
my God! We'll get to that, I guess.
We will get to that.
Almost spilled the beans.
Oh my, we will get to that in a little bit, but right now, there's a lot of BS going around about Sabu's last match and. That he was unable to even wrestle and they gave him some type of drug to go out there and wrestle. I mean, all this is being reported. And it's just, damn, just let the man rest and his body ain't even cold, man.
And the thing is that was his last match. That wasn't in his body of work.
Absolutely.
Sabu was so much more than that last match.
And let me tell you something, man. That last match, as well as I do, the pain that our brother Sabu has been in for the last 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Real talk. And to even at 60 years old to go out there and put on that kick-ass match at a 60, I hope I can walk when I'm 60. Really.
I've already passed that point, so I guess I'm doing okay.
You're doing great. You're doing great, brother.
But, I keep saying Sabu was so much more than that.
Yes.
We remember, and we keep referring back to the Sheik because Sheik was still around when we first got in the business.
Right.
And there was Sabu. Every show we were on and the Sheik was on, there was Sabu.
Very protective of the Sheik. I love that.
Yeah, very protective. But I remember, it was so long ago. It's back when the Sheik still treated Sabu like his young boy.
Yes.
He listened to everything the Sheik said. The Sheik wasn't always nice to Sabu when we first started.
It's true.
Their relationship changed as it went on, where the Sheik started giving him more respect.
Little by little.
He was proud of it.
And we watched it evolve.
Right. We watched that evolve.
That's
but
great.
But at first,
man,
no. He, would tell him what shoes to wear and, everything. Yeah.
Everything. I mean, he created Sabu the Elephant Boy.
Oh, which Sabu hated.
He hated it. He hated it. But let me say this about Sabu and the Sheik's relationship. Like I said, the way that he protected his uncle.
Yes.
I love that. I love that because whenever Sheik was in the ring in Japan or whatever, you see Sabu's eyes are everywhere.
Yeah, he's watching him.
Everywhere.
He's watching him.
He's making sure no one's doing nothing crazy.
Yeah, he definitely had the Sheik's back, if you will. But but the Sheik always had somebody around him. We just didn't always know it. Over in Japan, Iron Mike Lauren used to accompany the Sheik to the ring, and he was, of course, Porky the Pig.
Porky the Pig, yeah.
And in the '60s, before that, Big Jess Ortega.
Really?
Yeah, he was like the Sheik's, would drive with the Sheik,
right?
And kind of bodyguard like as well,
right?
But then Ortega had the heart attack in the ring.
Well, yeah,
which ended, that, and then Porky Pig, kind of took that spot.
Yeah.
But once again, that's the Sheik. Sabu is the subject.
I mean, well, like you said, both of them are together now.
Right, that's true.
They're together again.
That's true.
They are together again, and I know Sheik is protecting Sabu.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that in my heart. And Sabu, he was a friend of mine who we had some real intellectual conversations, man. Mm-hmm. And I reflect back on our conversations, and he's really a brilliant guy if you really listened to him.
Yeah, you had to follow his speech patterns.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was all over the place.
He once said, and I quote, "I'm a good racist."
He's a good racist.
I'm a good racist. I'm quoting him by saying that.
And what did he mean by that?
He was like everybody's racist behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. Everybody is. And if you sit there and say that you're not, then you're lying. Mm-hmm. You're lying to yourself. That not only makes you a racist, closet racist, but it also makes you a liar. And there was a lot of logic to all of what he was saying. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to it. I'm like, wow, this guy's
one day when we have a discussion, we're going to discuss the term racism.
Yes.
Because I feel a little differently than a lot of people. A lot of people use it loosely.
Absolutely.
But it's not necessarily what people describe it as.
Right.
So some other time. But yeah, man, Sabu, he was something else, man.
Hey, man, Sabu, he said he got kicked off of Twitter because he put a racist joke. Now, this was bullshit. Mm-hmm. He got kicked off of Twitter because he cut and pasted a joke from Dave Chappelle and reshared it.
Just reshared it, but it was Dave Chappelle actually saying the joke.
Saying the joke, yeah, and so they kicked him off for racist rhetoric or sharing racist rhetoric or whatever.
And really all that stuff is really just stereotypical stuff.
Right.
Instead of necessarily racism.
Right, exactly.
Racism is oppression, not your opinion.
Well, fair enough. I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
And come on, man. It's Dave Chappelle, man. I mean,
some of the funniest comedians to me were racist.
Of course.
Don Rickles.
Rickles. Richard Pryor.
His jokes were racial.
Right.
But I wouldn't say he was a racist.
I wouldn't say that either. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't. Of course, I don't know him. We don't know him.
But never heard that about
him. Right. And what a weird time to grow up, back then, and how race was and whatnot. Yeah. But we're getting off the subject. Yeah, right.
Getting off the subject again.
And again,
we're our producers.
And again,
they bailed on us.
Our producers, we're doing double duty tonight. We are doing so much hard work over here at Cruising.
Hey, it's in your blood, man. Go ahead and say it. Cruising the barrio.
At Wrestling Real Talk and at Throwdown Theater, we've got a whole lot of good stuff coming your way. But again, tonight we celebrate our brother Sabu. And, I want to share one of these memories of Sabu. Is one of the coolest ones was we were in San Juan, Puerto Rico, man. And it was me it was Violent J, it was Esham, Chris Candido, Sonny. Yeah. Sonny, and Sabu.
Sabu, okay.
And let me tell you something, man. Sabu, dude, Sabu and Esham got so drunk in the car. Oh my God. For real, I gotta post a picture.
Mm-hmm.
I got to.
Oh, you have the picture?
I do got the picture.
Uh-oh.
I do got the picture. And I remember when I showed Sabu the picture, he cracked up. He laughed so hard. Esham, not so much.
Not so much.
but
I have to see the picture.
I gotta show everybody now. I mean, it would be a disservice to our fans if I didn't show the picture. And again, it was lighthearted. It was fun, but because we had a night of drinking on the beach and we were hanging out, and it was a night off for the boys from wrestling, and we were over there just visiting, me and Esham and Violent J.
Mm-hmm.
We were just visiting and watching our friends do their thing, and Sabu wrestling in Puerto Rico was amazing to watch. I loved sitting in the stands and watching him go, man.
Who did he work with that night? Do you remember?
I do not remember. I think it was the kid who used to wrestle as Ubas.
Ubas? Oh, that's who it was?
I believe it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was good, man. He was really good. And I just remember that they had a really good match, and a lot of long hair flying everywhere. But that was one of the nights where I got to meet one of my idols, man, and a controversial figure in the world of wrestling, and of course I'm talking about Carlos Colon.
Oh, you met Carlos Colon?
I did. I met him. I took my picture with him. I shook his hand, and I told him, I wanted to thank him for all the memories.
Yeah.
He put it down with Abby. They put it down, and it was a pleasure for me to meet him. In fact, Sabu introduced us.
Yeah.
Introduced me and Joe.
He wrestled
to
in
him.
Detroit a bit at the Olympics.
He said he did.
Mm-hmm. Carlos Belafonte.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
That was Carlos Colon.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen that name in programs and whatnot.
That's Carlos Colon.
No way. See, you learn something every day right here on Wrestling Real Talk. But anyways, but Sabu, like I said, his sense of humor was off the wall. He was everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
And if you didn't have thick skin, you didn't want to hang around with Sabu.
And his delivery, it was just the way he talked.
Yes.
They weren't complete sentences.
No. No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
And jump around from subject to subject a little bit.
Right.
Within a conversation,
I loved it. It's no secret that Sabu, smoked the jazz cigarettes and stuff.
Okay.
And I was privileged to share that honor with him and a couple other guys.
He enjoyed a few Skittles, too. Skittles, huh?
Not me, man.
No, you weren't even into jazz sticks.
No, sir. No, sir. Anyways, but Sabu was him and Van Damme were advocates for marijuana and the legalization of it and the look, like I said at the top of the program, Sabu was in a lot of pain. Yeah. And you know what? I was in a lot of pain. And you know what? When I smoke marijuana, the pain goes away. Mm-hmm. And even though it's not for a long time, for the time that it is, I feel okay.
Right.
You
hear that gout?
Right. Oh my
Yeah, man,
goodness,
but
man.
so many memories of Sabu. I keep going back.
Uh-huh.
You know, I remember him coming back after his first tour of Japan for FMW.
Right.
And before that, he was scarless.
Right.
And within a couple months, he came back to Lincoln Park. I remember him walking in. And I was like, whoa, look at the star. And then I looked at his chest and he had the marks from the barbed wire.
Yes.
Fresh.
Yes.
His first scars
yes.
from FMW.
It is so true. I'll never forget that.
Before that, he didn't have all those. He
No.
didn't have the scars.
No. But again, you know, I would like to point out that the wrestling world continues to mourn Sabu as they should. And a lot of the boys and the ladies in the business, our sisters in the business, they all left, you know, heartfelt memories and whatnot of Sabu. And one of the ones that I thought was really, really, really good was from Paul Levesque from Triple H. You know,
did see that.
I'd like that he, you know, he pointed out that this business wouldn't look the way it does right now if not were for Sabu. You know, he changed and he literally put a whole fucking company on his back. And I'm talking about ECW. And he was the face of ECW. When you thought of that company, you thought of Wildman Sabu. Then you thought of, you know, Sandman and Dudley Boys and here and there. You know what I mean?
But Sabu put the extreme in ECW.
Absolutely.
You know, before that, it wasn't quite the same after Sabu got there.
You are so right. Because it was just Eastern.
Right.
And no one gave a shit.
Exactly. Sabu comes in there acting like the Sheik.
Yes.
He was wild and crazy, unstoppable. They brought him out on a gurney.
I remember
had
that
the Hannibal Lecter mask on his face. It's all on the video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see it on there. But yeah, he was uncontrollable.
Yes.
You know, and once you let him go, he was nonstop.
He was nonstop. And the thing is that one of the things that I loved about Sabu was you never knew what kind of match you were going to get from him. Because he could work a 5-star match like nothing. Or he could go out there and roll around in broken glass and barbed wire.
Right. Or just straight up brawl.
Or a brawl.
You know, everywhere in between.
Absolutely.
If he wanted to do that, you know.
The man was that talented.
I mean, think about it. The first time I saw Sabu may have been his first match in Hamtramck.
Right.
I think it was 1985.
Terry S.R.
Yeah, he's Terry S.R. against the Canadian Road Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
That was his first night.
Mm-hmm.
So from, 85 until I saw him again mid to late 1980s against the Sheik
the Sheik in Windsor, yes.
In Windsor.
Yes, sir.
And then I didn't see him again until 1991.
Right, in Azteca Hall.
So he had been wrestling a long time, 1985 to 91 when I first met him.
Right.
So that's a long time. So something happened. The Sabu, a light switch clicked on.
Right.
Because that was a long time to wrestle.
It sure was.
Just wrestling.
Right.
And then turn into what he became that second decade.
You know, I think I think that one of the cool things was, like you said, about the Sheik and the discipline that he put on Sabu was that it wasn't necessary to do all of that back then. It was necessary for it in the 90s when he was doing all of the crazy stuff.
It was like the perfect timing.
Yes.
Because the business went through a change where you weren't on WCW or the WWE.
Right.
And you could really let go. Sabu was one of those guys that just let go.
You would watch ECW and particularly Sabu with anybody. And you would watch Monday Night Raw or Nitro and you would say, what's this cornball shit on Monday? I'm rolling with the cool shit on 2 a.m. on Friday night
Right.
on WADL.
Well, what Sabu did, he took what he wanted from Japan and brought it back here.
Right.
He took Japan and brought it back here.
Right.
And just cut loose.
He sure did, man.
Cut loose. You know, because the tape trading kind of started around that time, late 80s, mid to early 90s.
Right, right.
So a lot of people hadn't seen. The closest we saw to what Sabu was doing was Muda.
Right. Muda. He was that was it,
right.
you know.
But Muda wasn't carving people up. You know, he wasn't, throwing chairs.
Right.
That type of thing. Sabu was
putting people through tables.
Sabu like this to Too Cold Scorpio on the way to Hillman, Michigan for his first match ever with Sabu. And I described Sabu to Too Cold Scorpio. And I told him he was the Sheik with wings.
That's the truth.
He was the Sheik with wings.
That's the truth.
And later, Too Cold Scorpio used that line on ECW.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow.
I said that to Too Cold Scorpio.
I love it. I love it. What a great story. Speaking of great stories, with Sabu, I gotta tell you, we were him and I, we got booked in a show in what the hell was it? Sacramento, California. And we're flying. We go, well, first off, we get to the airport, and he's grumpy because it's an early morning flight, and he's bitching and shit. And
he was always bitching.
Right, right. And then you know me, I'm this is the first time I ever traveled with him. And he said, come with me, follow me. And I'm like, hey, man, don't be taking me nowhere. I'm going to go to jail and shit. Don't, hey, I ain't fucking around like that. And he was like, just follow me. And so he takes us and we go into this secret place in fucking Metro Airport. And it's like a lounge,
in the
bro.
Airport?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's for the VIP Mile High Club people and shit. And because has all those frequent flyer miles, he's top dog.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, I'm bringing. He's my guest, so he brings me in, and they just have this spread of food, Huck. You wouldn't
just
believe.
Hooking you up, man, for
drinks,
for flying a lot.
Yeah. And you just sit there for the hour layover or whatever, and just enjoy snacks. That was one of the coolest things. But anyway, so we flew out to California, and again, like you said, always bitching, grumpy. So he's mad about the hotel. The hotel's not good, whatever, blah blah blah. So we go over to the school, the high school where they're having the wrestling. And the guy, whoever the athletic director is at the high school, keeps coming in and out of the dressing room. And Sabu finally flips his lid. And he's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. And he starts going off on this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, raw dog. Like, I was like, whoa, man. Sabu, relax. And he was like, no, man, we're trying to do fucking business in here. Nigga, get the fuck. And the guy was kind of big, too. He was like, hey, man, check this out, bro. This is my fucking business, my work here.
Oh, they're about to go.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh, shit. So, anyways, long story short, the guy went and got some extra teachers. They came in there, and we squashed everything. We went out there, and then so it was me against their hardcore champion in a barbed wire match. And Sabu was like, where's the barbed wire? He asked the promoter. And he was like, well, we're trying to go find some at like a magic store or whatever. And Sabu flipped his lid.
Oh.
He was like, what the fuck you mean at a magic store? What are you talking about?
They don't sell barbed wire at a magic store.
He was like, man, you better get to a fucking Home Depot and get some barbed wire. And I was like, oh, gee, thanks, Sabu.
You wanted some from the magic shop. You wanted some tinsel.
So anyways, though, he and the guy was like, oh, no, the guy was like, I got to wait for the money to come from some guy who, whatever, from the box office. Sabu gave him the money. He was like, go get it. Go get it. So he went and got it. And I'll never forget the advice Sabu gave me about being in that match. And because I do still believe in kayfabe and I believe in our fathers before us, the Sheik and Malcolm and Sabu and those who are gone from us, I respect them enough that I'm not going to share our conversation and what he told me about the barbed wire match, because I just don't do that. That's
understandable.
And people say, Rudy, it's 2025. Everyone knows it's phony baloney, and I'm like, you know what? It's never been phony to me. Just look at my scarred up body. I went above and beyond for my fans every time I went out there. And that's the same thing that guys like Sabu and Sheik and, Dusty and Terry Funk, they went out there and gave it their fucking all.
Right.
And how dare you talk about how phony it is and shit, Or you expect us to talk about it.
I know I don't.
You ain't getting nothing out of me.
Never do.
You ain't getting a damn thing out of me.
Don't ask David Copperfield how he does it.
Exactly.
But I know he's not Doctor Strange.
Thank
you. Know what
you.
I mean?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. One of the greatest things I ever seen in my life was when David Schultz was asked that same question by 2020 reporter John Stossel and got the shit smacked out of him.
You can ring my bell. He got his bell rung,
He did get his bell rung. He did, but
but Sabu, he was the same way. He didn't talk to everybody.
No, no,
he did not talk to everybody. And he was the same as the Sheik. You couldn't, and I never called him by his real name.
Me neither.
He's always Sabu. If you said, I can't even say it. If you said his real name, he would say, "Who's that?"
Right.
Just like the Sheik.
Right.
Later years, he loosened up, and you would see him posting his real name, and people started calling him his real name.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody in the business
calls
him anything but Sabu.
I mean, out of respect, I would never call him anything else.
Yeah, never have.
I never called Sheik anything else. I never called none of my heroes anything other than what I knew them as.
Malcolm's the only dude I'd ever call Sweet Daddy.
I did. It's the truth. It's so true. Back to wait. We got to take a break right now. We got to tell you about Throwdown Theater. We got to tell you about the Throwdown Theater commemorative cards. They are available right now, and you can get your brand new commemorative collectible card on Sunday, June 8th at Taqueria El Rey at the Brawl on Bagley. That's right. 4 p.m. International Big Time Wrestling live at Taqueria El Rey with a star-studded show which will feature the International Big Time Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, the Monroe Dynasty, along with IBW Street Fight Champion, Dirty TX Tex Monroe, and of course, International Big Time Wrestling's World's Heavyweight Champion and fan favorite, Little Fred, and our special attraction coming in on Sunday, June 8th. Multi-champion in the NWA. She is also the IBW women's champion. It's Big Mama making her return on Sunday, June 8th. You can get your collectible cards right then and there at Taqueria El Rey, absolutely free. Everyone who comes through the door gets one absolutely free. And if you live outside of the state of Michigan or too far away to come to Detroit for the show on Sunday, June 8th, no problem. Head on over to Throwdown Theater at Facebook, over at YouTube, over at Instagram. Hit us up everywhere and we will tell you how you can obtain your collectible cards. Already so far, we have the Sheik, we have Bobo Brazil, we have Pearl Purple, we have so many more that are on the way. That's just to name a few. Go over to throwdowntheater.com. That's right. Go up to it right now and you'll get all the information you need. And once again, today's show has been sponsored by Throwdown Theater. And we are back once again.
Man, you are long-winded, brother. You didn't even have a cue card. You just rattled it all off.
You would think someone would hire me.
I think so. Man, that was pretty good, Rudy. I'm
Thank
proud.
you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
But like you said, once again, this is our tribute show, so to speak, to Sabu, our great friend.
Great friend.
Traveling buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Laughter. Just so many crazy things that went on. So way more than we can even talk about.
Well, one of the craziest things that fucking happened was when I booked him for a show in Southwest Detroit at a place called Los Brisas, Mexican restaurant. It was, I think, either Cinco de Mayo or 4th of July. And I'm waiting for this guy to walk through the back dressing room, and they said, Sabu's here. And this motherfucker walked through bald.
Bald.
He was bald-headed
that night.
I was like, what the fuck?
And I went up to him and I was like, dude, you ever think about weaves? Getting a weave? I said that to him. I didn't know what else to say. I was shocked.
I was tripping.
And he looked at me because he knew I didn't like it. He had this funny look at like, oh, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like that, you know?
Right.
I was like, man, what, you couldn't get a weave? And he said it would break his hair. I was like, but you cut it off. What are you talking about? It would break your hair off.
Oh my God, that was so hilarious, man. I remember he wrestled. I forget who he wrestled, but I was just the whole time I couldn't believe this was Sabu.
It wasn't the same, man.
No.
Not to rag on him now that he's gone, but it was like Samson. You know, Sabu's hair made him.
Right, and it's not ragging on him when he knew what we felt, you know. And speaking of...
He was sitting there with the bald head and his cowboy boots on.
Dude, let me tell you something.
His shorts.
Let me tell you something. Real quickly, I'm going to tell you this quick story. Me, Violent J, Sabu, and somebody else. I'm not sure who it was. We all went to, Sabu's manager from XPW. I don't know his name. I don't remember his name. He was a cool dude, though. He's a DJ out there in Cali. Anyways, man, we were filming a video or something, and Sabu was in the video with us. And anyways, so we told Sabu, in 20 minutes, be ready, man. We're going to the titty bar. We're all going to the gentleman's club. Okay. That's what we called it. Sorry for those of you who got butt hurt when I said titty bar. Sorry. Anyways, so we're like, man, we're in downtown LA. We're in Hollywood, man. We're right there on the Sunset Strip. We're hitting all of them, man. Yeah. And I'm all G'd up, looking good. Joe's looking sweet. We're all looking fly. And then we're waiting for Sabu to come down in the fucking elevator.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Sabu, I love you. God, I miss you, bro. He came down the elevator and he had a backwards hat. Okay.
Yep.
He had no shirt on. He had a karate gi. He had shorts. And he had fucking flip-flops.
I thought you were going to say the cowboy boots.
Dude. San Juan, Puerto Rico, Sunday morning. We're laying on the beach, me and Joe kicking it, we're drinking some pina coladas. All of a sudden, we see Sabu coming in his karate gi, in his shorts, and in his cowboy boots on the sand in the beach.
And not the flip-flops, totally backwards.
Right.
Those boots must have been a gift from somebody. He loved those cowboy
boots. My
boots.
God, he did, man. He did. But anyways, me and Sabu, we were going to beat up Mark McGrath from the rock group Sugar Ray. We were going to beat his ass when he started talking shit. And
trying to tell you what to do?
No, he was trying to tell Joe what to do. And I was like, man, you don't talk to my homie like that, homie. Fuck you. And then he was like, hey, man, I don't want no problems because if there's going to be a problem, and Sabu was standing behind him with that look, I was like, oh, shit, see who my backup is, motherfuckers?
Looking like an Arabian hitman.
Right.
With a gi and cowboy boots.
Oh, man.
I love Sabu.
I love him, too, man. I do. I love I'm going to share another story real quickly. After one of our shows at Las Brisas, we took Sabu in the hood with us to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
We took him to a cookout at our friend Richie Barrios' house. And we knocked at the door and there was Sabu. Richie was like, what, Sabu? Yeah. So anyway, Sabu was like, he fell in love with this guy's puppy.
And he was like, dogs.
And he was like, come on, man, let me have your dog, man. Let me get it, man. Let me take it home.
Oh, he wanted him to.
He was like, I'll pay for it. Well, the guy had only had it for 2 weeks. And he was like, he's biting up my couch or whatever. And Sabu was like, I'll take him off your hands, man. Don't worry about it. And he was just, to see him after watching him in such a brutal match that I watched that afternoon, to see him at the cookout, kicking back, playing with the puppies.
Mm-hmm.
I thought,
he used to always bring his dog.
Yes, yeah.
When I had him on my shows, he always had his poodle, a little brown poodle.
Everywhere he went.
But
that was when he was married the first time.
Yes.
And, let me also say this about Sabu, that being a loving man, he was very much in love with Melissa Coates, and unfortunately we lost her a couple of years back, and now they're together again, man. And then he told me
that took a chunk out of him.
It did. It broke him. It broke him in so many ways. I could see it in his eyes the last time I talked to him.
And his social media presence was always about her.
Absolutely, yes.
Not about him. It was always something about her.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now they're together again, man, and I believe that in my heart. I truly do. And, I do want to share this also, Huck. I want to share this, that the sentiment of most of the boys in the business. Sabu gave more to the business than the business gave to him.
Oh, for sure. That, he didn't want to, bend.
Right.
To some of the things that were asked of him.
Right.
He had his standards.
Right. They wanted
that he lived by.
Iron Sheik to be his manager.
Yeah, different things
come
like
on,
that,
man.
Know what I mean? Yeah. So.
He would never do that to his uncle's legacy, man.
And then wrestling the quote-unquote WWE style.
Yes.
Sabu was, from the Wild West.
Yes.
And I love that about it.
And let me also say this, that even though he didn't wrestle the WWE style, he had some good matches with guys like John Cena.
He did. He did.
I urge everyone to go back and take a look at Sabu against John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
What a classic, man. And Sabu shared with me later that John Cena was a cool guy, man.
Yeah. I've seen they were back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Sabu did have some words about him at one point. But yeah, he, praised him, helped him through his match.
Right.
And I did recently see those matches again for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going. It was back and forth. It wasn't like John Cena was big timing him in the match.
Right.
He took everything he gave.
Right.
Yeah.
Huck, do you have a certain match that's your favorite with Sabu?
Oh boy, one that stands out, and I know you know what I'm going to talk about. It was Lincoln Park.
Oh yes,
and it was
classic.
Sabu versus Too Cold Scorpio.
Yes, for the second time only.
Yes, that was for the second time. There were two matches that weekend. One in Hillman, which I spoke of earlier, and then this night in Lincoln Park, and the main event on that night was supposed to be the Sheik and Abdullah the Butcher.
Right.
And it was replaced by Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe versus the Sheik.
Man, what a match.
However, this match with Sabu versus Too Cold Scorpio, it stands out in my mind because it was the night the ring broke.
Yes.
And no tampering with the ring at all.
Mm-mm.
It just happened.
Right.
And they kept going for
I
know how long it was, but they worked like the rings were not broken.
It did like it didn't matter.
Collapsed and leaning at a 40-degree angle.
Exactly. Exactly.
They just kept going.
What a match it was, too.
That was it stands out in my memory as one of my favorite matches that I was involved in with Sabu. Probably, period.
Yeah.
Not just a Sabu match, but match period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that match right there.
Wow. That's high praises.
Yeah.
That's really high praise. It was a 5-star classic, even with the broken ring.
A little bit going into that, I remember Malcolm coming over to my print shop.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure how many months, or maybe just a month before the match.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I need a main event. I need somebody to go with Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that popped in my head was Too Cold Scorpio. He had just gotten released from WCW.
Right.
And I was like, man, that would be a great match, man, if you could book that.
Right.
He came by the next day and said, I got him.
Wow.
And that's, Too Cold Scorpio came in.
I remember that well. And what a nice draw.
Yeah.
Nice house.
Yep.
We had a good weekend that weekend.
Yeah,
That's one of those weekends that stands out in my mind.
But keep in mind, and let's be real, the show in Hillman did not draw.
No, it didn't.
It was hardly anybody.
No, it didn't.
There.
It was maybe 20 people.
Yeah,
let's
but
be
gave
real.
them the opportunity to fill each other out.
You know what? And they went out there and worked their asses
they did.
off.
For those few people.
Yeah.
That we're there in Hillman, Michigan.
Right.
For the first meeting of Sabu and Too Cold Scorpio.
Yes, sir.
But they got to fill each other out. I was in the ring with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Too Cold Scorpio coming off the top rope with like some type of splash.
Uh-huh.
Sabu was like, holy shit. Because he was so high.
Right.
Great
man.
memories, man.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I'll tell you, my favorite Sabu match of all time is the classic between him and Terry Funk in the barbed wire, Born to be Wired.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what a classic match. And just the brutality of that match, especially with a 60-year-old Terry Funk at the time, going with this young man and make. Would you say that Terry Funk helped make Sabu?
Oh, for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Those matches right there, the matches, of course, with Cactus Jack as
Right.
well.
Right.
But yeah, Terry Funk, yes.
And even Terry Funk came to Michigan and worked him at a few
He
spots.
He did. I refereed a match with Terry Funk and Sabu, a Texas death match.
Mm-hmm.
Also at Lincoln Park.
In Lincoln Park, yep, that's right.
And, I was there for his match at Taylor's.
Taylor Sportsplex.
No,
or,
it was at
Sheridan Center.
Community Center for
Yes,
Gary
sir.
Warnchek.
Yes, sir.
Was Sabu and Terry Funk. Had a great house. They fought all over the building.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, those early matches with Terry Funk did, help get Sabu over on a national scale.
Yes. Yeah.
And it had history, because Terry Funk feuded with the Sheik and Dory Funk feuded with the Sheik.
Right.
Dory Funk Jr. feuded with the Sheik. So now it's a continuation with Sabu.
Right.
You know, a lot of history there.
Right. Hey, do you know I never even looked it up, and I want to kick myself in the ass now that I'm going to ask you because you probably have. Did you ever see Sabu against Abdullah?
Yes. I don't remember where it was, but there's a match. But before that, in Tri-States Wrestling, it wasn't really the Sheik. I mean, Sabu and Abby, but they were involved.
Oh, okay.
It was the Sheik versus Abdullah the
in
Butcher.
the cage.
In the cage.
Yeah, you could see that right now on Throwdown Theater.
Yeah, Bulldog Brower was involved in
Brower
the match.
Power, that's right.
And Sabu's out there, and he's going, and him and Abdullah hook it up. I wanted to book it, and Sabu didn't want to work with Abby because he said, all he's going to do is try to beat me up. You know, but that would have been before all of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know,
right.
no, the Tri-State stuff was before.
Right.
But still, Sabu hadn't made his mark in his mind that Abdullah would give him anything.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's unfortunate. I think that would have been fun.
Yeah, I was trying to get that going.
I know you were, Huck. I know you were. Hey, man. Well, I got to tell you, man, we're coming to the end of the show. Yes, we could go on for days.
Forever.
You know that.
And I know we're going to touch on it again.
And by the way, final words and memories of Sabu.
Yeah, man.
Huck.
Sabu was there my first night, official first night in the business. He bought the first wrestling T-shirt I ever printed. He bought the first one, Midwest Championship Wrestling. He was like, how much is that? You know, and I'm not sure if I just gave it. No, he wanted to pay for it. He paid $10 for it. Sabu would not let you pay for anything. I never had a meal that I paid for when I was in Sabu's presence. And then from there, you know, him and FMW, then him actually getting me, and I'm getting a little choked up, into ECW. You know, me and Malcolm fell out, and I called Sabu up and said, hey, I need to get away from Michigan. And first he said, give me until December. This was like June or July.
Mm-hmm.
The next day he called me up, said, we're going to Philadelphia. And from then on, you know, I was booked for ECW. And a couple years, you know, so it was because of Sabu that I was able to be on the national spotlight and somewhat, I guess, consider myself an ECW original. You know, even though I, you know, did a whole lot here in Detroit before I went to ECW, Border City Wrestling, Midwest, Insane. All that was before I was in ECW and traveling all over Ohio. But Sabu got me to ECW, and we rode together, me, him, Pee-wee, who we tried to get on the phone, and Masada Tanaka, and Fonzie, and Rob Van Dam, and Rhino, Little Guido. We're all in the same cars together. You know, so it was a great experience, and I, you know, owe that to Sabu. I was looking at something the other day, and it was a box of magazines that Sabu gave me, all from Japan. Wow. You know, he gave me all these wrestling magazines, and I still have them in newspapers. You know, he knew I collected that stuff, so I still have those, and man, just great, man. Like I said, I never paid for anything. Never paid for anything around him. And he always greeted me with a big hug like we spoke about earlier. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him.
Man. When I had open heart surgery, Sabu and I'm so glad and thankful for Facebook that I still have these messages that I just literally read last night. He was having hip replacement surgery at the same time I was having open heart surgery. And we were keeping each other's spirits up with these funny ass texts. And of course I can't share them. But sorry, folks. Those are some heartfelt texts that, look, just like Huck said, there'll never be another. There'll always be one Sabu. He's been imitated, but he'll never, ever be duplicated. And you know that. We've all been blessed to been able to see Sabu when we did see him. I was blessed to share the ring with Sabu on a few occasions. One of my favorite nights was in West Virginia with Madman Pondo, and Sabu did the run-in on me. It was a pleasure. He's my brother. I'm going to miss him. Man, Sabu, man, rest easy, bro. You put your body through so much, man. Bro, rest. It's your turn, man. It's your turn. It's your turn, man. We love you, man. Wrestling Real Talk fans, thank you for joining us. Signing off for A.T. Huck. I'm Rudy Hill, and we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Be good to one another. Rest easy, Sabu.